Level 1. The envelope. It starts with an envelope. No name on the front, no return address, just a plain white envelope slid under your apartment door at 2:47 in the morning. You don't pick it up right away. You stand there in the dark hallway, bare feet on cold tile, staring at it like it might bite you. It doesn't. You pick it up. Inside, a photo, a name, an address, and $500 in cash. That's it. No instructions, no explanation, no phone number to call if you have questions. Just a photo of a man you've never seen before. Middle-aged, glasses, a beard going gray at the edges. He's photographed outside a pharmacy. Looks like surveillance. The name written on the back is Marcus Webb. You don't know Marcus Webb. You don't know who sent this envelope. You don't know what you're supposed to do with it. But you know what the money means. Because your rent is 3 weeks late. Because your phone got cut off yesterday. Because the last job you had ended when the restaurant closed and you haven't had a real interview in 2 months. $500 for what exactly? You tell yourself you're just going to find out more. You tell yourself you're not going to do anything. You fold the money into your pocket.
Level 2. The contact. 3 days later, a burner phone appears in your mailbox. One contact saved. No name. Just a number starting with a foreign country code you don't recognize. You call it. The voice on the other end is calm, steady, like someone who's done this 1,000 times. He tells you the 500 was a test of curiosity, not competence, not loyalty, just to see if you'd pick up the phone. You did. Now he explains what the job actually is. Not what you were imagining. Not yet. Right now, you're a watcher, an observer. You follow Marcus Webb. You document his routine, where he goes in the morning, what time he leaves. Does he take the same route twice? Does anyone follow him? Does he meet anyone suspicious? 2 weeks of observation, $3,000 at the end. You're not hurting anyone. You're just watching. You tell yourself that too. The voice gives you a second burner phone, this one for photos. Tells you to memorize the drop-off location for your reports. Tells you to burn the original envelope. Then the line goes dead. You sit in your apartment for a long time. Then you start watching Marcus Webb.
Level 3. The routine. Marcus Webb is boring. That's the first thing you learn. He wakes up at 6:15. He takes the same bus. He stops at the same coffee cart on Meridian Street. Medium black, no sugar. He works at an accounting firm on the 11th floor of a glass building downtown. He leaves at 5:45, sometimes later. On Tuesdays, he picks up his dry cleaning. On Thursdays, he has dinner at an Italian place called Sorrento's with a woman who might be his sister or might be his wife. You can't tell. He laughs a lot at dinner. He seems like a normal man. You photograph all of it. You log times, locations, license plates of cars that park near his building. You know when he deviates from his routine, twice in 2 weeks. Once for a dentist appointment, once for something you couldn't identify, a meeting in the back of a hotel bar with 2 men in suits. That one, you photograph more carefully. You upload the files to a cloud address the voice gave you. You write up a summary in plain language. You drop the printed copy behind a loose brick outside a parking garage on Fielding Avenue. 14 days later, $3,000 appears in a prepaid debit card left in your mailbox. You buy groceries. You pay your rent. You buy a decent pair of shoes for the first time in 2 years. And then you wait. You don't have to wait long.
Level 4. The first job. The voice calls again on a Wednesday morning. He says you did good work. Says your reports were clean, detailed, professional. He asks if you want to move up. You ask what moving up means. He tells you. Your stomach drops. But you don't hang up. That's the moment everything changes. Not when you accept. Not when you do it. The moment you don't hang up, that's the line. And you cross it in silence. Just by staying on the phone. The first job is not Marcus Webb. That surprises you. It's someone else entirely. A name you don't recognize. A man named Dario Fenn. Fenn is connected to people who are connected to the man who hired the voice, who hired you. He owes money.
He talked to people he shouldn't have talked to. You don't need the details, the voice says. Details are distractions. The job is clean, quick, no witnesses, no mess. You're given a location, an industrial parking structure on the east side of the city, a time, 11:15 p.m., a description of the car Dario Fenn will be driving. You're given a package. It arrives in a locker at the central train station. Combination code texted to the burner phone. Inside the locker, a weapon, already clean, already untraceable. Instructions for disposal afterward. You drive to the parking structure. You wait. You are shaking so badly you can barely hold the steering wheel. At 11:22, headlights appear.
Level 5. After. You don't sleep for 3 days. Not real sleep. You fall in and out of something that isn't rest. You lie on your bed staring at the ceiling. You get up and check the locks on your door 4 times in one night. You watch the news obsessively. Local channels, online feeds, scanning for a name. On the second day, you find it. A small article, buried in the local crime section. Man found deceased in East Side parking structure. Police investigating. No photo. 2 paragraphs. You read it 11 times. You feel sick. Then you feel nothing. Then you feel sick again. On the 4th day, the voice calls. $10,000. Already loaded onto a new card. Waiting for you. $10,000. You stare at that number for a long time. You don't touch the money for a week. You tell yourself you're done. You tell yourself this was a mistake and you're walking away and you're going to find a real job and never look at a burner phone again. Then your landlord raises the rent by $400 a month. Then your car breaks down. Then you open the prepaid card app and stare at that balance and feel something terrible happen in your chest. Something that feels a little like relief.
Level 6. The second job. The second one is easier. That's the most frightening part. Not that it's hard, that it isn't. Your hands don't shake this time. Your breathing stays even. You arrive at the location, a quiet street in a suburb you've never been to, and you complete the job, and you drive away, and you feel almost nothing. Almost. You sit in a diner, 40 minutes north of the city, and you order coffee and eggs, and you eat the whole meal, and you don't think about what you just did. And that terrifies you more than anything else has so far. The voice calls. 15,000. He says you're a natural. He says that like it's a compliment. You don't know how to feel about the fact that it almost sounds like one.
Level 7. The network. By the 6th month, you have a routine. You have a new apartment, nicer but still anonymous. Cash-paid lease through a third-party arrangement the voice set up. You have 2 phones, and you know which one to answer. You have a go bag by your door. Cash, a change of clothes, a secondary ID that cost you more than you want to think about. You have rules. No alcohol before a job. No relationships. No talking about money with anyone. No patterns. Different routes to the grocery store. Different coffee shops. Never the same gas station twice in a row.
You have a contact now who isn't the voice. A fixer. You never meet her in person. She communicates through an encrypted app that auto-deletes messages after 30 seconds. She arranges travel when you need to go out of the city. She books hotels under names that aren't yours. You've done 8 jobs. 8 names you keep and a part of your mind that you keep locked. The money is serious now. You have more savings than you've ever had in your life. Not in a bank. Never in a bank. In 3 separate locations. 2 safe deposit boxes in different cities. 1 under a mattress in a storage unit you rent under a dead man's name. That detail alone would have horrified you a year ago. Now it's just logistics. You've stopped watching the news.
Level 8. The mistake. Every person in this life tells you the same thing eventually. Everyone makes a mistake. Yours comes on a Tuesday. The job is in a hotel. A Mark staying in room 714 of a business hotel near the convention center. The fixer told you he'd be alone. She was wrong. There's a woman in the room. She's not supposed to be there. She's sitting at the desk with her back to the door, working on a laptop. She doesn't turn around immediately. You have exactly 4 seconds to make a decision. You make it. You complete the job. You walk out. But the woman saw your face. Not clearly.
You were wearing a hat, a mask covering the lower half. But she was on a video call when you came in, and the laptop camera was running. You don't know this yet. You find out 2 days later when the fixer texts you a single line. Problem. Sit tight. You sit tight for 6 hours. Then, a second message. Video pulled. You're okay, but you owe us. You learn what owe us means in the days that follow. It means the price just went up. Not the money they pay you, the price you pay them. In loyalty, in availability, in the understanding that you are now deeper in this than you plan to be, that there is now a debt that isn't financial. You have no choice but to accept.
Level 9. The handler. His name is Royce. He's the first person in this organization you actually meet face to face. Not the voice, you still don't know who that is. Not the fixer, she remains a ghost. Royce sits across from you in a parking garage on a Sunday afternoon, engine running, and he looks at you with flat gray eyes, and he evaluates you like a mechanic checking an engine. He's mid-50s, well-dressed, calm in the way that only people who've seen everything can be calm. He tells you that you've been doing good work. He tells you that after your mistake, there was a conversation about whether to retire you. That word, retire, sitting in the air between you like a blade. But they didn't, because you're consistent, because you're careful, because you don't ask unnecessary questions, and you don't get emotional, and you don't talk. He slides a folder across the center console. Inside, a new contract. Not a single job, a retainer. Exclusive arrangement. You're no longer freelance. The money is more than you've ever seen offered at once. You sign. You sign with a name that isn't yours, on paper that doesn't officially exist, in a parking garage that has no cameras on this level, because Royce checked before he chose this location. You drive home, and you sit in your apartment, and for the first time in months, you feel something that is dangerously close to pride. That scares you most of all.
Level 10. The life. This is what it looks like from the inside. You wake up before 6. You run, not because you enjoy it, because you need to. Because your body is a tool, and tools require maintenance. You eat well, sleep regular hours, drink almost nothing. You read about your targets before every job, not to humanize them. You learned quickly that's a dangerous road. You read to understand their patterns, their security, their vulnerabilities. You travel frequently. New York, Rotterdam, Guadalajara, a city in Eastern Europe whose name you don't say out loud even when you're alone. You move through airports with the practiced neutrality of a businessman who makes this same trip every month. You have a cover identity that's been built carefully over 2 years, a consulting firm that exists on paper, has a website, has a LinkedIn profile, has 3 fake client testimonials. If someone looks you up, they find someone boring, someone unremarkable.
That's the goal. You've learned that the most dangerous people in this world look like the most forgettable. You've learned that the hardest part of this job isn't the job itself. It's the silence after. It's going back to a hotel room or an apartment or a seat on a plane and sitting inside your own head and finding ways to not look directly at what you've become. Some people drink, some people find religion, some find someone to love and hold that person at a dangerous distance and try not to think about what would happen if anyone ever connected the dots. You find a different solution. You work. Work is the only thing that turns the volume down.
Level 11. The ones you remember. There's a rule you set for yourself early on. You don't learn names. You don't read the articles. You don't find out if they had families. You broke that rule 3 times. The first was accidental. A news alert you didn't turn off in time. The man you'd done a job on 6 weeks earlier had 2 daughters, 8 and 11. They were photographed at his memorial service. The younger one was holding a stuffed rabbit. You turned off all news alerts after that. The second time you broke the rule, it was on purpose. You needed to know if the mark you'd been assigned was actually what Royce described him as, a trafficker. A man involved in things so dark that the job felt, for the first time, like something approaching justice. He was. That made you feel better. That made you feel worse. The third time, you broke the rule because the target's name was familiar.
Not someone you knew, someone your mother used to mention. A distant connection from your hometown. You're not even sure they'd have recognized each other. You completed the job anyway. You don't sleep well in October anymore. You don't know why October specifically. These things don't arrive logically. They arrive at 3 a.m. when the room is quiet and the city outside is almost still, and you lie in the dark and count sounds instead of sheep.
Level 12, the money. Let's talk about the money, because this is the part people don't understand from the outside. It's not what you think. Yes, you have more money than you ever imagined having. In a good year, you clear 7 figures. In a slow year, still more than most people see in a decade. You have the means to live anywhere, eat anything, travel without looking at prices. And yet, you can't spend it freely. Every large purchase is a risk, a flag, a pattern, a question someone might ask. You can't buy a house in your own name, can't finance a car, can't deposit a sum that would trigger any kind of institutional attention. The money is real, but it lives in shadows, in cash, in metals, in crypto wallets, in arrangements with people who take their own percentage for keeping their mouth shut. You have money, and you live like someone who's always about to leave. No decorations on your walls, no photos, nothing that would take more than 20 minutes to pack. Your apartment looks like a hotel room someone's been staying in too long. You've thought about what it would be like to leave. Not this apartment, this life. You've thought about it more carefully than you've thought about anything. Every time you map it out, where you'd go, what name you'd use, how you'd build something real, you end up at the same question. Would they like you? Level 13, the paranoia. Something shifts around the 2-year mark. You start noticing things. The same car parked outside your building 2 days in a row. A man at a coffee shop who looks at you a half second too long before looking away. A woman on the subway who seems to be reading a book but never turns the page. Maybe it's nothing. Probably it's nothing. But in this life, probably nothing has a different weight than it does for other people. You start running counter-surveillance routes. Things the fixer taught you in the beginning that you never thought you'd need this consistently. You take indirect routes everywhere. You enter and exit buildings through different doors. You sit with your back to walls. You buy a device that detects radio signals and sweep your apartment every Sunday. You change your burner phones more frequently. You tell yourself this is just professionalism, that vigilance is what keeps you alive, that the people who get caught are the ones who get comfortable. But there's a difference between vigilance and the feeling you have now. The feeling now has a different texture. It hums. It hums at a frequency you can feel in your teeth. You call it professional awareness when you talk to yourself about it. In the privacy of your own mind, at 4 a.m. in a dark room, you call it what it is. Fear. Level 14. Royce. Royce calls you in on a Thursday. He wants to meet at a restaurant this time. A real one. Upscale. Busy. Loud. Hard to surveil. Hard to overhear. He orders steak. He makes small talk about the city, about a boxing match, about nothing. Then, between the main course and dessert, he tells you why he called. There's a problem within the organization. Someone has been talking to federal investigators. Not confirmed, suspected. But the suspicion is serious enough that 2 people have already been addressed. He says that word lightly, between sips of water. You understand what it means. He looks at you across the table. He says your name, not your real name, the name they use for you. He says he's not accusing you of anything. He says the word but. And what follows the word but is the clearest threat you've ever received in your life. Delivered calmly, over white tablecloths, in complete grammatical sentences, by a man who is smiling as he says it. You drive home with both hands perfectly steady on the wheel. Inside, something is unraveling, because you understand now, with a certainty you didn't have before. You are not an employee. You are an asset. And assets that become liabilities don't get severance packages. Level 15. The target. 6 weeks after the dinner with Royce, you receive a new assignment. You open the file. You look at the photo. You look at the name. And for the first time in over 2 years, your hands shake. Because the name in the file is someone you know. Not a target, not a stranger,
Someone from your life before. A person who still exists in the world you left behind, who you haven't spoken to in 2 years, but who still, in some quiet corner of yourself, you think of as someone real, someone you protected by keeping them at distance. You stare at the file for a long time. You think about what it means that this name has appeared here.
Either it's coincidence, and in this life, you don't believe in coincidence. Or someone knows about your past, about who you were before the envelopes and the burner phones and the parking structures at 11 p.m. Or the person in this file is connected to something you were never told about. Any of these possibilities is dangerous. You close the file. You sit in the dark. You don't call Royce. You don't call the voice. You don't message the fixer. For the first time in 2 years, you have no idea what to do next. That, more than anything else that has happened, is when you feel it. The trap, not closing, already closed.
Final level, level 16, the truth. Here's what they never tell you about this life. They tell you about the money. They tell you about the power. They tell you about the adrenaline and the control and the feeling of moving through the world like a ghost that nothing can touch. They don't tell you about the weight. They don't tell you that there's no version of this where you walk away whole, where you come out the other side and pick back up some clean version of yourself that was waiting for you. That person doesn't wait. That person left the building the night you didn't hang up the phone. What they also don't tell you is that the world keeps moving. The organization you burned will rebuild. Different structure, different names, but the same architecture. Because the thing you were a part of isn't a collection of people. It's an idea, a market, a space that exists because enough people in enough cities have enough reasons to create demand for what you used to provide. Someone else will pick up an envelope. Someone else will get a burner phone. Someone else will stand at a crossroads at 11 p.m. and make a decision they'll spend years trying to understand. And the cycle will continue without you. What you have now, this warehouse, this room, this borrowed name, this quiet, it's not redemption. Redemption would require the ability to undo things, and you know better than anyone that some things don't get undone. What you have is after, just after. Some days that feels like nothing. Some days, sitting with a cup of bad coffee, watching the light change in a city that doesn't know your name. Some days, after feels like the only thing worth surviving for. You don't know how long the head start lasts. You don't know if Royce is already talking to someone about a loose end. You don't know if the woman with a laptop ever identified you. You know how to watch a room. You know how to spot a tail. You know how to disappear into the texture of a place until you're just another unremarkable person that no one remembers seeing. The skills that built this life are the same ones keeping you alive in the ruin of it. That's the last thing this life gave you. Make of it what you will. You started with an envelope. You ended with a warehouse, a false name, and a borrowed life. And somewhere out there, right now, someone else is standing in a dark hallway, staring at a plain white rectangle on the floor, deciding,